So the president, or soon to be former president of South Korea, tried to take over the Senate. He tried to do an Emperor Palpatine. Yeah, I saw a little bit of this video. I know that joke is coming. I was going to watch this video the day it came out, but I felt like some things you just got to wait on. So yeah, hopefully the South Korean people are doing better. And I do actually like seeing how everybody came together on such short notice to keep their democracy. Very important. And if anything, I think more countries should pay attention to their people. But let's go ahead and check this out. How to go from president to unemployed in 6 hours. Mujin.
Full, unquestionable power, mobilizing the military and seeking to disrupt the entire country. In the end, though, he ended up completely underestimating his own citizens and made a grave miscalculation. Make no mistake, this will be in the history books
Absolutely,
of your
it will
children.
be.
So I figured we should probably talk about it. Let's do it. On December 3rd, around 10:27 p.m. South Korean time, the South Korean president, with no prior announcement or warning, declared martial law, emergency martial law, saying that he had to rein in the country because too many politicians were corrupt and working with the enemy, which is North Korea. He said he wanted to fix
Which might be true. That being said, how do we know this guy isn't one of them? Real shit.
the country. Now, under the Constitution of South Korea, the president can by himself actually declare martial law. What he was doing was fully within his rights. But for South Koreans, especially the ones from older generations, martial law was bad news no matter how you worded it. The last time a martial law was imposed was in the year of 1980. A rogue general had taken over the country and imposed martial law on it, closed down all newspapers, silenced anyone who was against him, arrested politicians, and put the country under
Insane,
dictatorship.
bro.
Many South
Insane.
Koreans tried to go up against him, but unfortunately left this planet doing so. Let's
Absolutely, because a lot of people like there's a cadence in the U.S. Army. It says people say freedom is free, and I tend to disagree. And absolutely, it's true. Freedom is not free, and hopefully these souls are resting in peace because to fight against tyranny and lose your life, I think that is a life worth losing. That is a fight worth fighting for every single human being. To want to keep your country and keep your family and to keep your people safe, to lose your life, that is a life worth losing. That is a fight worth fighting.
just say. The martial law order only ended up being lifted in 1981. After 456 days of suffering.
That
and
is
it was
a long
only in
time.
1987 that the Sixth Republic of Korea was written and then put into place in 1988. Ever since then, it's been a democracy and there hasn't been any martial law order imposed. So what the hell led us here? How are we here today? Well, Yoon Suk-yeol has been the president of South Korea since 2022. But very shortly after taking office, he became very disliked by his population. South Koreans were seeing him as ineffective, someone who couldn't put into place impactful policies to advance the country forward. And by 2024, his approval rating is as low as 20%.
Wow.
This means
Nobody
that 8
likes
out of
him.
10 South Koreans don't like him and want him out of the office. I mean, I think it's safe to say that even Kim Jong-un has a higher approval rating, and he wasn't even voted in by his population. He is deeply unpopular. This unpopularity
Bro, how? You just went like it was already going down, but then it was stabilizing and then it just shot down. Like, bro, this is jumping off of a cliff from June to July.
stretches even to the National Assembly, where the party that has the majority of votes is the opposing party, the one who is against the president. They're called the Democratic Party. So he hasn't really had much luck there either, not able to pass the bills he wants to pass. Very recently, on November 29th, 2024, the budget that the president wants to pass for 2025 was cut by $2.9 billion.
Wow.
This was done by the opposition party, the Democratic Party. The same party who's been trying to investigate the wife of the president multiple times now over corruption charges, and just very recently started the process to impeach the head of the state audit agency and 3 prosecutors involved in those scandals.
That's
so as
crazy.
you can see, the president has a bit of a rivalry with the Democratic Party. This led many
absolutely.
to theorize that all these things accumulated led him to take the decision of martial law, with the budget cut being the final nail in the coffin. He saw his political career ending with shame and decided to take a huge risk, but it's a risk that stank miles away. It simply didn't smell like the best of intentions. Look, there's two
Obviously
different kinds of
not.
martial laws: emergency martial law and security martial law, okay?
Okay, which
the
one
most
was this?
drastic one is emergency martial law, which is the one he had imposed.
Okay.
The same one that was used in 1980. So he could essentially close any media publication he wants to, arrest any person on South Korean soil without any arrest warrant needed, impose curfews, and straight up confiscate someone's bank account if he wanted to.
Wait,
and
what?
The list goes on. He can do pretty much.
So this is literally okay. So emergency martial law, like the best possible way I could see this being enforced, and the reason why it would be enforced would say somebody that really is a traitor to South Korea is in a high government position, emergency lockdown, nobody can go outside, the news media is frozen, so they can try and stop this person that is actually a threat to the country. That being said, there's like you have so much power. How do you know you're not going to use that for evil in itself? I don't know, man. It's a slippery slope, as they say.
Much anything he wants to with
Absolutely.
no approval needed. The only
That's a
thing that
lot
can
of
stop
power.
him is the National Assembly voting to lift the martial law. That's the only threat he faces while having absolute power. Panic was starting to set in, whether you were a normal citizen, someone in the military, a police officer, it didn't matter. Something like this hadn't happened in over 40 years and they had no warning prior. The whole thing was extremely unorganized. Now, unfortunately, the initial reaction in the West to this was K-pop stans being worried that their favorite K-pop groups were not going to perform anymore because after the martial law was imposed, major entertainment companies were canceling events. But hey, I guess they helped spread the word around.
True.
As the news was starting to reach the West, we received
I gotta ask my buddies in the military about this.
more updates from South Korea. The martial law commander was announced. It was going to be a man by the name of Park An-soo. He then proceeded to shock the world with his first announcement after taking over this position.
Okay.
That all activities related to the National Assembly and political parties are now banned.
That's crazy.
I think you're starting to understand why this was such a big deal, right? The only people who can stop the martial law have effectively been banned. Well,
and this is why I was thinking like there's only one opposition if the president decides to do this. Like I feel like there should be at least one more, right? Two different like you know how power works, at least like in the United States, right? We have three different branches of government, so the power is balanced as much as it can be, right? There should be three because with two it's easy for one to try and silence the other, but if you have three it's going to be a bit harder because you're going to need two out of the three to actually complete something. So yeah, there should be more balance of power, and I this is like the perfect example and reason why there should be more balance of power.
From being able to stop it. It was very clear now
New
why the president
laws
was
are going to be coming
secretive,
pretty
why there
soon.
were no prior announcements.
Hopefully.
He had announced the martial law order at 10:30 p.m. so that the National Assembly members could not make it to the National Assembly.
Yep, you
he
can't
wanted
make
to
it.
catch them all off guard and take control
Caught 'em
while they were
slipping.
sleeping. All of this was confirmed when a big problem had revealed itself. The military had been mobilized to block all access to the National Assembly.
Ooh,
The
boy,
stakes
they
at
cut it
this
out.
point could not have been any higher. The South Koreans were essentially
kitted
seeing their
out.
democracy slip through their fingers, and the older generation was having terrible flashbacks back to the year of 1980. But
Absolutely.
South Korean men are obligated to serve in the South Korean military through conscription, and
Yep.
while women are not obligated to, they can still voluntarily join. This meant that they didn't really fear the military as much as a regular person would, and they weren't just gonna back down. Even after fully understanding the situation, the opposition Democratic Party urgently summoned its members of the National Assembly. They were going to go and lift that martial law even if the entire army was standing in their way. The South Korean people were aware of these efforts, so they made their way to the National Assembly to help them. There's this clip right here that went absolutely viral of a woman holding a rifle in front of her and not giving a single shit about what would happen if it was shot. Watch.
This is very bad. This is very bad.
The president was not going against the opposition party here. He was going against these regular people. And he had grossly miscalculated just how strong these people were.
She's very brave. Remember what I said about freedom not being free? If he would have pulled that trigger, she would have been a martyr immediately.
He had sent the military. He had sent helicopters flying over the National Assembly, trying to dissuade people from even approaching it. But nothing was working. The leader of the opposition party live streamed himself, okay, sneaking into the National Assembly by hopping over a fence. Like it's
Yo, they need to update the security after this, bro, because if he could do that, who else could?
something that you don't
That's
see
crazy.
at all. This
Bro,
is
hop
crazy.
the fence. He's good to
People
go.
were in full defiance here. This is such an incredible image that really shows you how the South Korean people came together very quickly to make sure that all the parliament members get through to the National Assembly. This picture looks like a Renaissance painting. I mean, they're over here lifting the parliament member up the fence so that he can go and vote on nullifying this crazy martial law order. You truly don't see this every day. The members were able to sneak into the National Assembly and start the vote. However, the military was still trying to stop them. They were breaking windows and trying to get to the National Assembly to stop whatever was going on, because under martial law, this was illegal. But again, the South Korean people showed incredible resilience. They put up barricades from inside the National Assembly. I mean, look at this. This is crazy. Look at all this furniture in front of the doors. Good luck getting through that. Okay, it's not happening unless you have a bulldozer. This is what happens when your citizens go through conscription. They were using the military's tactics against them. And thanks to their efforts, 190 members of the National Assembly were able to make it and vote yes to lift the martial law order, completely defying the president.
And there it is.
Now, of course, this was a great moment, but it didn't mean much just yet. The president had to acknowledge this and actually order the military to leave.
Oh, brother, this is intense.
If he didn't, things would have gotten very complicated.
Absolutely, it would have been the power
accused of treason.
Yeah, the power would have been too much.
6 hours after declaring the martial law order, he did another speech acknowledging the National Assembly's vote and completely lifting it. As soon as he did that, the soldiers started leaving the National Assembly, retreating, and getting back to their normal lives. The South Korean people pretty much won, making sure to not repeat the same events that had happened in 1980 and all the other martial laws that were abused by people who wanted to stay in power. When things started to calm down, the Democratic Party revealed that the military planned to arrest the Assembly Speaker and party leaders under martial law, which made them review possible insurrection charges. I think it's common sense to say that if you want to arrest your political opponents, that is pretty much against what democracy stands for. That's a very serious accusation. Shortly after, the Democratic Party floor leader, Park Chan-dae, called for President Yoon to step down immediately, saying President Yoon cannot avoid the charge of treason. He must step down immediately. As this was all happening, the senior aides and secretaries of the president have started resigning in droves. This was a complete failed coup, okay? He had turned from dictator to clown in the span of like 4 hours. Even his own senior officials can't back him up anymore. The dude screwed up royally. At this point, it's almost guaranteed that he's going to get impeached and most likely also probably thrown into jail. This was a massive wake-up call to South Korea because they haven't had to deal with something like this for over 40 years. Thankfully, they were able to avert the crisis, but still, one has to think, what if it did end up working? What would have happened then? But I think the funniest thing in all this is that
well, if it did work, then the democracy would have failed. They would no longer be the democratic country, and I think it would have gotten worse. Absolutely. That being said, luckily we don't live in that timeline, so we don't got to think about it too much. But yeah, this is 100% a wake-up call for every democratic country in the world. Every democratic country should be looking at this in multiple different perspectives.
There are people who slept early and woke up and had no idea this had happened. Protests and fights in the country with an imminent dictatorship and are just now finding out. Like this person right here who commented on my YouTube post saying, I'm literally in Korea right now for a visit and this shit happens while I was asleep from jet lag. LMAO, my whole Korean family's hella pissed at him and calling him a clown. I saw a lot of confusion about this topic with many people not knowing what happened, so I thought I'd make a quick video explaining it. Hope it helped. Thank you for watching till the end, and I'll see you in the next video. Love you. Mwah.
Stop kissing me. What are these people doing with my oxy? Yeah, absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And again, I am glad that justice was served. I'm happy to see that people were uniting, right? This is what I've always said. Like these people out here, they're risking their lives for their democracy, for their freedoms. And it's absolutely brave to see, like, even opposition going live to show himself basically breaking the law, right? Jumping the fence to get in to vote, right? People working together. This is what I love to see. This is absolutely what I love to see. More people need to unite and stand together whenever some bad stuff does happen. And it's very easy for a lot of people to cower in fear. Like, I know a lot of people, if they had a weapon raised to them like this, immediately would have been scared. And luckily that this soldier didn't pull the trigger. So, like, I will say props to him, right? Like, I've been a soldier as well. And many Koreans have been soldiers, right? And it's hard to have this balance of one, like being a good soldier, right? There was a staff sergeant, and he said to be a good soldier you have to be a terrible person. And back then I didn't really understand what he meant by this. Like, to be a good soldier you have to be a terrible person. You have to be a terrible person because you have to follow orders that may not align with your morality, right? So if that soldier was told to shoot that woman, he had to have that internal conflict with himself to be a good soldier and pull the trigger, which you're conditioned to do is to listen to what somebody tells you to do unconditionally, or you disobey direct orders, which could be shown as dishonorable. And a lot of people say death before dishonor, right? Absolutely. It is tough to be in this predicament, but I am glad that nobody lost their lives during this, right? This was a failed coup, and thankfully, it failed without anybody having to lose their life. So props to the Korean people. You know, I stand with the Korean people. Definitely protect your country, protect your freedoms, protect your democracy, protect your right to keep yourselves safe and have the ability to vote for whoever you want to be in the power and to lead you, right? Nobody wants to have a rogue leader send all of them to hell. You absolutely want to keep yourselves safe. So, yes, props to the Korean people. And again, all democracies need to watch this from many different angles because there are people in democracies and countries that will want to do the same exact thing as this guy to take power. A lot of people want to take power. Freedom isn't free, everybody. So, hey, prepare. I have several videos about training, train, become stronger, and prepare for whatever because you never know when it can go left. You never know when it could go south. Not the pun not intended. But yeah, you guys have a good day and stay safe out here, man. Be careful for who you guys are voting for. I know it gets tricky out here, but all you guys can do is really defend yourselves and defend your communities because it can get very deadly very quickly. Anyways, it's your boy KhunShawn. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Yeah, there was a lot to talk about. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys on the next one, man. Y'all be safe out here. Peace.